Most people assume that when someone dislikes your progress, they will make it obvious. They expect clear hostility, sharp words, or open confrontation. But true resentment rarely arrives with a warning. In everyday life, the most dangerous forms of envy are almost always wrapped in a smile. Human beings have learned to hide their resentment behind polite social habits, soft praise, and gentle humor because expressing open hostility carries a heavy social cost. More than 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli observed a fundamental pattern in how human beings interact. He pointed out that most people judge far more by what their eyes see than by what they actually test. They respond to appearances, polished manners, and pleasant words, while the underlying motives remain completely hidden beneath the surface. That insight remains just as true today in offices, families, and friend groups. People rarely show you their envy. Instead, they show you a carefully constructed version of support designed to keep you from noticing what they are actually feeling. When someone close to you begins to envy your growth, their behavior changes in small, subtle ways long before they ever say anything negative. Recognizing these patterns isn't about becoming paranoid or looking for enemies in every room. It is about understanding human psychology so you can protect your peace, maintain your boundaries, and see through modern social displays. Here are the subtle signs that reveal when someone is quietly struggling with your success. The first sign appears in how a person responds to good news. Pay close attention to the exact second you share a win. Real support is immediate, warm, and effortless. When someone is genuinely happy for you, their body language and tone of voice line up instantly. But when someone harbors hidden resentment, there is almost always a micro-delay. A brief pause occurs before they congratulate you. In that fraction of a second, their brain is trying to process a wave of discomfort before putting on a polite reaction. After that micro-delay, their praise often comes across as forced or overly exaggerated. Or worse, they immediately change the subject. Take a simple workplace example. Imagine you just landed an important promotion or completed a difficult project after months of late nights. You share the news with a colleague you consider a friend. Instead of asking how you pulled it off or celebrating the milestone, they give a quick nod, say, "That's great," and immediately transition into talking about their own workload, an unrelated piece of gossip, or a problem they are facing. By shifting the conversation, they aren't just changing the topic. They are attempting to remove the spotlight from your achievement because sitting with your success creates an internal sense of inadequacy inside them. The second sign is the subtle minimization of your effort. People who envy your results rarely attack your character directly. Instead, they reframe your hard work as pure luck, favorable timing, or outside help. They rewrite your story so that your success appears accidental rather than earned. You see this happen constantly in everyday interactions. If you build a successful business, save money to buy something meaningful, or master a new skill, a secretly envious person will quietly point out every advantage you had along the way. They might say things like, "Well, you always were lucky with timing," or "It must be nice having that kind of free time." Notice the psychological shift happening in those phrases. By attributing your progress to external factors, they protect their own ego. If your success is the result of luck or special circumstances, it means they aren't falling behind because of a lack of effort or discipline. It's simply because the world was fairer to you. It is a psychological defense mechanism designed to comfort themselves, but over time, it slowly chips away at the credit you deserve. The third sign is the heavy use of backhanded compliments. This is perhaps the most common way envy disguises itself in casual conversation. A backhanded compliment allows someone to deliver a subtle insult while maintaining complete plausible deniability. If you call them out on it, they can easily turn it back on you and claim you are being sensitive or taking things the wrong way. Consider how this plays out in casual friendships. Someone might look at your new outfit, your health transformation, or an award you received and say, "I wish I had the luxury to focus on myself like that." Or, "You're so brave for putting yourself out there like that. I could never be comfortable doing that." On the surface, the words sound somewhat neutral, maybe even complimentary. But the emotional weight of the statement feels heavy and dismissive. They have packaged a critique inside a compliment. They want to make sure that even in your moment of achievement, a small seed of self-doubt is planted in your mind. Understanding these early patterns allows you to step back and observe interactions without getting emotionally pulled into them. When you recognize that these subtle behaviors stem from another person's internal struggle with their own self-worth, you stop taking their reactions personally. You begin to see their subtle comments not as an accurate reflection of your merit, but as a clear mirror revealing their own insecurity. The fourth sign reveals itself through what psychologists call competitive mirroring. When someone harbors silent resentment toward your progress, they often experience a strange, contradictory urge. On one hand, they dislike your achievements because it reminds them of what they lack. On the other hand, they feel an intense impulse to copy the exact things you are doing to prove to themselves that they can do it better. This dynamic often plays out in subtle ways inside social circles or professional settings. You might decide to pick up a new habit, start a specific routine, or invest in a new skill. Shortly after, without acknowledging your influence, the other person suddenly adopts the exact same goal or interest. But there is a crucial difference in how they approach it. Rather than simply enjoying the new pursuit, they turn it into an unannounced race. They make sure to mention their progress at every opportunity, subtly attempting to outshine your efforts or downplay your experience. Centuries ago, the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung pointed out that the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge have a way of directing our lives from behind the scenes. When a person refuses to face their own feelings of inadequacy, those suppressed feelings turn into hidden rivalry. The envious person isn't simply trying to improve their own life. They are trying to neutralize the threat they feel when they look at yours. They copy your moves in a quiet attempt to prove that your success isn't special, that anyone could do it, and that they can do it with less effort. The fifth sign is a sudden change in presence, depending on whether you are winning or struggling. Pay attention to who shows up when life gets difficult versus who stays close when things are going well. Secretly envious people are often strangely attentive and compassionate when you experience a setback, fail at a goal, or go through a rough patch. They offer a shoulder to cry on, ask detailed questions about what went wrong, and show up with an overwhelming amount of sympathy. At first glance, this looks like deep friendship. But if you observe closely, their warmth only appears when you are down. The moment your life improves again, their enthusiasm vanishes. When you are struggling, your difficulty restores the balance in their mind. It reassures them that you are not moving too far ahead. Your pain gives them a subtle sense of relief and superiority, which allows them to feel generous and supportive. But as soon as you step back into success, that uncomfortable feeling of inequality returns, and their warmth instantly cools down into distance, brief answers, or complete detachment. The sixth sign is the quiet spreading of subtle doubts to others when you aren't in the room. A person who envies you will rarely launch a direct attack on your reputation in front of a group. Instead, they use small, indirect comments designed to plant seeds of suspicion in the minds of those around you. Consider a common office environment or a shared group of friends. When your name comes up in connection with a recent accomplishment, the envious person won't openly disagree with the praise. Instead, they will add a small qualifier that subtly shifts how others view you. They might say, "She did a great job on that presentation, though it helped that the manager guided her through the whole thing." Or, "He's been working hard, but let's see if he can keep that pace up when things get real." These statements seem harmless on the surface, but they are carefully timed to dilute your credibility. It is a slow, steady attempt to lower your standing in the eyes of others without making themselves look bitter or hostile. The seventh sign is a complete absence of genuine curiosity about your journey. When people respect and value what you have built, they naturally ask questions. They want to know how you solved a hard problem, what you learned along the way, or how you navigated a difficult transition. Curiosity is a natural human response to genuine interest. An envious person, however, will intentionally avoid asking you about your success. Even when your progress is the main topic of conversation in a room, they will remain quiet, look at their phone, or steer the discussion toward a completely unrelated topic. Asking you questions would require them to acknowledge your growth, validate your effort, and position you as someone with valuable experience. To their ego, that feels like admitting defeat. By acting indifferent or unbothered, they attempt to convince themselves and the room that what you achieved simply isn't a big deal. When you begin to recognize these 7 patterns, the way you view social interactions changes fundamentally. You stop wasting energy trying to convince everyone to celebrate with you, and you stop taking quiet distance or sharp comments personally. Envy is almost never about you, your character, or what you have actually done. It is entirely about the internal conflict of the person experiencing it. Your growth simply acts as a mirror, reflecting back the goals they have abandoned, the discipline they haven't built, or the potential they have left unused. Understanding human nature isn't about cutting everyone off or closing yourself away from the world. It is about building a calm, observant mind that sees people as they truly are, rather than as you wish they would be. When you learn to spot these subtle behaviors early, you gain the quiet advantage of knowing who genuinely belongs in your inner circle and who should remain at a safe distance. You preserve your energy, protect your goals, and continue moving forward without needing the approval of people who secretly wish to see you stop.